This is a review over large systems that we've been doing, and then the application problems, which are story problems also. So you're going to need a graphing calculator for this review and for your quiz. One of the first things we covered is what method we should use: graphing, substitution, or elimination. So just in case you forget, we use graphing when we have two equations that look something like this and are both solved for y equals. So that's just an example. We use substitution when we have one equation solved for either x or y, and the other one might just look something like this. And we use elimination when we have both equations with x and y on the same side. So again, this is just an example, but it might look something like this. You are going to use your graphing calculator to solve anything graphing and anything elimination, but you have to do the substitution by hand. And so if you look at our first two equations here, they are both solved for y, and so hopefully you said that you should use graphing. On this second example, if you look, we have one equation solved for y, but not both of them, so I know I'm not using graphing. Since I do have this second equation solved for y, I should use substitution. On the third example, take a couple seconds and think about what method you would use. And hopefully, again, you chose substitution, because I'm not going to use graphing because this equation doesn't have y equals. And I'm not going to use elimination because I have this one equation solved for y. Look at this example and take a couple seconds to think about what method you would use for this one. Hopefully you figured out it's not graphing. It's also not substitution. This would be an elimination problem. And remember, you just use your calculator, you use the matrices for this. The next thing we did is we learned about large systems. So here we have a system that has three different variables. So it says, write out the matrix and find the solution to the systems. So we have to write out our matrix. Make sure you do this on your quiz because it is worth points. And so if I start with this first equation, I have 6, -4, +4, -6. And so you go ahead and you just write that out. 6, -4, +4, -6. For my second equation, I have 6, 10, 2, 24. So again, 6, 10, 2, and 24. For the third equation, 8, 7, 6, and 30. Go ahead and pause this video, take a couple seconds to input this into your calculator and actually solve the matrix. Once I solved, I'm getting some really weird decimals, and I just double checked and it seems like I inputted everything correctly, so I'm just going to round to the 10th, but I'm getting -2.3 for x, 2.8 for y, and again I'm rounding these, and I'm getting 4.8 for z. In this next example, it says in a phone store there are 3 employees, Elise, Becky, and Charlotte. So I'm going to use variables A, B, and C. The first sentence says when all 3 employees are working, they can fix 20 phones per hour. So if I were to write an equation for that, I would have Elise plus Becky plus Charlotte equals 20. If I keep reading, it says Elise and Charlotte are working. They can fix 5 per hour. So that would be Elise plus Charlotte equals 5. And if you like to make sure you have every variable written in, you could write in 0B if that would just make you feel better. And the last sentence says, if Becky and Charlotte are working, they can fix 15 phones per hour. So this time I have Becky and Charlotte fixing 15 phones. Again, if you like to have every variable written in, that would just be 0A because she's not working. And then remember on your quiz, you want to write in the matrix you're going to type into your calculator, because if you happen to make a typo, you still get credit for having the matrix correct. So this would be 1A, 1B, 1C, 20. 1A, no B, 1C, 5. And no A's, 1B, 1C, 15. When you input this into your calculator and solve, you should get that Elise can fix 5 phones per hour. Becky can fix 15. And Charlotte fixes 0. So maybe we don't want to hire Charlotte. This problem says the sum of 2 numbers is 6. The difference of those numbers is 4. What are the 2 numbers? So this time you need to remember we have 2 numbers, so we're only going to have 2 equations. So take a couple seconds to try to write out your 2 equations. So pause this video. Hopefully you remember that sum means add. For my 2 numbers, I'm going to use x and y. So I need to add x plus y, and the sum is 6. Then I need to take the difference of those numbers, so that would be subtract. So that would be x minus y is 4. It says, what are the 2 numbers? So now you're just going to put this into the calculator. It says write out each equation. We did that. The matrix you input into your calculator. And so take a second to write out your matrix. Hopefully you wrote 1, 1, 6, 1, negative 1, 4. And when we go to enter this into the calculator, previously we've been doing 3 by 4, but this is now 2 rows, so 2, and 3 columns, so this should be a 2 by 3. And once you get this all inputted into your calculator and you get an answer, you should get that the 2 numbers are 5 and 1. This next example says a student has some $5 and $10 bills in his wallet. He has a total of 10 bills that are worth $95. How many of each type of bill does he have? So take a second to try to write out the equation. So click pause. Once you read this one more time, so we have 2 types of bills. We have 5s and 10s, and then they're worth $95. So I'm going to use F for 5, T for 10, and I'm going to write an equation that has all the money together. So I have $5 bills, I have some $10 bills, and the total amount of money for those bills is $95. The other information I get is that I have 10 bills total, and so that would be however many 5s I have plus however many 10s I have equals 10 total bills. So 5s plus 10s equals 10 bills. Remember on the quiz you have to write out the matrix, so take a second, write out what you're going to type into your calculator. And you should have written out this 5, 10, 95, and then 1, 1, 10. Again, this is a 2 by 3, 2 rows, 3 columns. Go ahead and type this into your calculator. On your output screen, you should see this. And so one more time, these were 5s and these were 10s. So I have 1 $5 bill and 9 $10 bills. The last example says the sum of two numbers is 33. The first number is 5 times the second increased by 2. What are the numbers? So take a couple seconds and write out your equations. I'm going to use x and y for my two numbers, and I'm going to write up here, x is my first number, and y is my second number. And I'm just doing that to try to help with the second sentence. So I have sum, that means add. The word is means equal, so I'm adding my x and my y, and it equals 33. Equation number 2 says the first number is. So the first number is x. That means x is means equal. So x equals 5 times the second number. So 5 times the second number would be 5 times y. Increased means add. So increased by 2 means plus 2. Now, if you look at this setup, this equation here is not what it needs to be for us to do elimination using the calculator. And so remember our options were graphing. And for graphing, we needed y equals. Okay, not a graphing problem. For elimination, it was, x plus y equals 33, x minus y equals 2. Okay, not elimination. That means substitution. Remember, substitution is where I have x equals. So I have x equals this stuff. I'm taking this, and I am writing it where x is. So I'm going to write, instead of x, 5y plus 2. Then I'm going to continue writing, plus y equals 33. We're going to combine our like terms. 5y plus y, 6y. And then we're just solving. And I am not getting a very nice number, so I'm just going to leave it like this. And then if I want to get x, I'm just going to plug this y back in, and I'm going to use this equation right here. So x equals 5 times, we know y is 31 over 6. Sorry about this problem. I obviously just wrote a bad problem, but we'll just use our calculator, and that should not happen on your quiz. So I'm just going to type this in. 5 times 31 divided by 6 plus 2. I get this decimal, so I'll just round it for you guys. And the 3 repeats. So not a very pretty answer, but 27.83 repeating. And then we had 31 over 6. So again, that shouldn't happen on your quiz. It was just a bad example. So you can use your notes on your quiz, and we should be passing that out shortly. So get out your notes if you want to use them, get your calculator ready, and we'll take a quiz.